What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Lava Brandon Blakeney podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Brandon Blakeney, aka Brandon Lee TB, back at it again with another banger, my friends. So kick back, relax, and come take a ride with me.
You are now locked into the Live with Brandon Blakeney podcast. Here is your host, Brandon Blakeney.
We got the AP preseason first team All-American squad for women's college hoops, and it is a loaded five, including several Player of the Year candidates. With college basketball back in the swing of things, you know I got to keep y'all locked in on all things women's hoops, men's hoops, and everything in between. But man, do we have a doozy of a list with so much star power that has changed teams. Still, a lot of familiar faces on this list. Some underclassmen, some upperclassmen, and straight superstars on this list. Let's break it down and let's look at it. So we got Paige Beckers, Hannah Hidalgo, Madison Booker, Kiki Iriape, and Juju Watkins rounding out the bunch. Last but certainly not least. Now, looking at all these players from last season, man. Paige Beckers, 21.9 points, 5.2 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 53% shooting from the field. The favorite for National Player of the Year, Co-Player of the Year, her and Juju Watkins 1A, 1B right now. But when you talk about Paige Beckers, you got to talk about tenacity, efficiency, and the ability to overcome adversity, straight perseverance. She has 2 season-ending injuries in back-to-back years, comes back last season, leads UConn to the Final Four, playing out of position for most of the year, man. She was at the 4 for a lot of the year, and we know she's a true point guard. She held her own on the glass, turned up on the defensive end, blocking shots, guarding players bigger than her, and just playing much bigger than she is at 6 foot. Beckers wheeled a limping, injured, wounded UConn squad along with Aaliyah Edwards to the Final Four, and people still considered it, by their standards, a down year for UConn. Bueckers is back again with more talent than last year. They have an absolute mob. The backcourt is absolutely loaded for UConn, and they look like the second best team in the nation, in my opinion. Now, Paige Beckers is the crown jewel. She is the tip of the spear for this group, and she will have shooters all around her. They bring back Ashley Shade, KK, Arnold, Cadence, Samuels, Caroline Deshawn, Maddie Zabel, Morgan Shelley, the list goes on, man. So the backcourt is absolutely loaded. They got bigger. They bring back Jana El Alfie, who's going to finally be healthy. You bring back, you bring in, I should say, Sarah Strong, the number 1 player in the country, to play the 4. Paige Beckers is the perfect leader for this group. You heard Donna Staley. She is the most efficient player in the country. No wasted movements, cerebral assassin, and you know she's coming back with revenge on her mind after people have been talking crazy about her offseason, where it was the first one she wasn't stuck in stores rehabbing, and she actually got to enjoy herself, man. So I'm expecting a big year out of Paige Beckers, potential national champion and national player of the year, Big East preseason player of the year. I would not be surprised if they go sweep this thing. Next up, we mentioned the list gets even deeper, man, with underclassmen on this list. We gotta go to Juju Watkins, though, at number 2, man. Arguably gonna be in that running for Player of the Year with Paige Beckers, the second leading scorer in the nation, only behind Caitlin Clark last year as a freshman. Got USC at the number 1 seed back into the tournament and back to the Sweet 16 like they were hooping, and they exceeded expectations. And now you bring in Kiki Iriape, you bring in Talia Von Ohoffen, you bring in a really good freshman class led by Kennedy Smith, and Juju's playing with the most talent she's played with. Looking at her numbers from last year, Juju averaged 27.1 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, 3.3 assists, shooting 40.1% from the field. At 6'2", she is a big guard. Scores it from anywhere on the court. Fluid movement, though. Like, we don't see too many women hoopers move so smooth as she does with the basketball. Like, especially not a sophomore in college. Like, she easily could make the WNBA and be an impact franchise player today if they made a one-and-done rule last year. She could have arguably been the number 1 pick last season or number 2 pick behind Caitlin Clark in the WNBA draft. mid-range, elite. I think the big thing for Juju now is going to be more efficient and take better shots up that field goal percentage. But the talent is there, and she has a national championship caliber team around her this season. This may be the most talent she has played with in her entire career, and Nike with the new deal is pushing her, it feels like, to be the next face of women's college hoops. Big expectations for a sophomore, but man, she was in the running for National Player of the Year last season in her first year, where she took women's college hoops by storm. I mean, the soft face assassin is an absolute killer, will absolutely rip your soul from your existence out on the court. Lethal finishes at the cup, crazy off the crossover, can get it off the bounce, shoots a three, pulls up, hits the mid-range, gets it off the dribble, gets the catch and shoot, finishes among the trees at 6'2", takes on contact. There's nothing that Juju Watkins can't do to impact a basketball game, and I'm excited to see what year two has to offer. Sticking with USC, Kiki Uriafen, who they got from Stanford, had a breakout junior year last year, led them in scoring and rebounding, and pretty much took over that number one option spot for Cameron Brink. She decided to jump ship after their coach retired, and she's now in Southern California, her back home, back at the crib, teaming up with Juju, and Kiki is potentially the number one draft pick in the WNBA. Between her and Bueckers, 1 and 2 for sure on every list, depending on which one you look at. But she is, I feel like, still just scratching the surface. And she averaged her double-double last season. Iriafen averaged 19.4 points, 11 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and she shot an incredible 54.6% from the field. At 6'3", she's super skilled. One of the most skilled bigs in the entire country. She can shoot it, she can pass it, she can get back to the basket, she gets second chance points, high motor, gets up and down the floor really well. And I still have to reiterate, I think she's just scratching the surface. But having Ryan Marshall next to her to do the dirty work, the anchor the paint and block shots, gives Kiki that freedom to really focus on the offensive end, but also not have to play the five and guard the biggest player on the floor, which it allows her to stay in her natural position at the four. But super skilled, can put it on the floor a little bit, can pass it from the post, great energy, and I think she brings that winning mentality, that winning pedigree. She comes in as a veteran to a relatively young USC squad, to be honest with y'all, and I think she adds a totally different dynamic to this group. They have a reliable number one go-to low-post scoring option this season. This should be a match made in heaven, and then when you think about Talia von Oelhoffen coming in as well, these vets that have played a lot of very important games, played on the biggest stages, and have performed extremely well, got NCAA tournament games under their belt to help push this young group. I'm telling you, watch out. USC definitely has the talent to be playing for a national championship. Now, my dark horse for this season to win the Natty is Notre Dame, and a big part of that will be their rising sophomore Hannah Hidalgo, who in any other class probably in the last decade with her numbers would have been freshman of the year, but she happened to finish, behind Juju Watkins. Well, Hidalgo reminds me of Trae Young, but can play D. She led the league in steals, pesky on-ball defender, one of the best on-ball defenders in the country, one of the best perimeter defenders, elite first step, nice burst, can finish among the trees, like elite layup package with either hand. She's got the floater, she can kiss it high off the glass, deep three-point range. You can't stay in front of her. Like, she gets paint touch after paint touch, and she's got elite court vision as well, can really pass the rock, and I love seeing her run the break. She's exceptional in pick and roll, and I salute to her. She was not expected to have the ball in her hands immediately like that, man. Like, Olivia Miles was expected to be the lead guard. She missed the season, All-American level talent. And Hannah Hidalgo stepped right in from day one when they played South Carolina overseas and showed up and showed out. And she proved to be one of the best point guards in the country last year. Now you add Olivia Miles and you bring back Sonia Citron. It's definitely going to be one of the best three-headed monsters backcourts in the entire country. I'm excited to see Hidalgo and Miles really just play together for the first time. We saw Miles looking healthy enough to really come back last year, but Coach Ivy didn't want to risk it, and I respect her for that. But this Notre Dame, this team is going to be exceptional. And I think they swept the ACC preseason awards. Hannah Hidalgo picked to be the preseason ACC Player of the Year. I think they get it done this year. Now, NC State will absolutely have something to say about it. Duke will have something to say about it. UNC may have something to say about it. I don't know. They're without Deja Kelly. But Hannah Hidalgo and Notre Dame definitely have the capability of winning a national championship. They were smaller last year. They bring back Maddie Westbeth. They bring in Kate Koval, the number one center in the country, McDonald's All-American. They got some serious size, and the pick and roll with Miles Hidalgo as well and Koval could definitely be disastrous for other defenses. Rounded out, and let's get into the numbers real quick. Last season, Hidalgo averaged 22.6 points, 6.2 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and 44.6% shooting from the field. 5'6", smaller guard, big dog, little dog, big heart. And I think she steps it up this year. Just numbers could be more efficient, could be even better than last year. I definitely expect those assist numbers to go up. I don't know if she'll get the same shot volume, but she'll definitely still get hers. I think regardless of whatever happens, playing with Olivia Miles is definitely going to benefit her in a big way. So excited to see that. Rounding out our group is another rising sophomore, Madison Booker. I just have to really salute the way that she took over as the lead playmaker when Rory Harmon, All-American point guard, potential player of the year, went down with the torn ACL. They needed someone to initiate the offense, and her assists more than doubled when Rory Harmon went out. And she turned into a true point forward, a skill set I knew she had and that I saw was in her game, but it wasn't really necessary or needed. We saw it in flashes, but when she had to be the primary ball handler, when she had to be the primary playmaker, she definitely stepped up in a big way. I think she has one of the best mid-range games in the nation. Nice frame, built to absorb contact and overpower smaller guards. Really understands how to use every angle of the court. Gets to her spots. It's not flashy, but it's effective. It's efficient, and people ain't stopping it. And when you talk about national championship contender, they get a healthy Rory Harmon back. They bring in Layla Filia from Michigan, top scorer for that team. The backcourt just got a major boost, and they might have one of the most productive perimeter threats in the entire country next year with these three leading the way. Madison Booker won't be asked to do as much. I mean, they also bring back Shea Holly, and they bring in Jordan Lee, a McDonald's All-American. So there will be less pressure. Rory Harmon will go back to being the lead playmaker for this group. But the fact that we saw the growth, the strides, and how it benefited her trajectory without Harmon in the lineup, we really saw Booker's complete game and what she can do. So I'm excited to see. She had a big year last year. On the year, Booker averaged 16.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists while shooting a very impressive 45.7% from the field. Definitely a very efficient stat line for a freshman last season. She's another sophomore, the third one on this list, coming into this group in a very just special 2023 class that's going to be an elite 2027 draft class. But Booker definitely deserves to be on this list. I was excited to see it. Texas in a new conference, going to the SEC, and they get to play the juggernaut, defending champs, South Carolina twice. I do think Texas is the biggest threat for South Carolina in the SEC. They bring back a lot of talent. They lost some portal pieces, but they brought in some portal pieces, some bigs to bolster that front court. But Madison Booker is definitely going to be a big key cog in this lineup if Texas wants to reach the heights that this roster has the potential to do. But that is the 5 preseason AP All-American team. Y'all let me know in the comments how y'all feel. Who should have been on it? Who are we missing? Let me know. Give me predictions and all that good stuff. Make sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up with all the latest and the greatest. Join our memberships. We got that exclusive content coming daily, weekly, whenever you need it. Follow us on social media at Brandon Lee TV. Till next time, we out.